morning. As I mentioned to you earlier, we are in our 4th session of Join Together July. We have had wonderful experiences so far. We have already had our friend Tarif Saeed from the Muslim community as the director of the Islamic Center. We had my friend Rabbi Michael Bernstein, who is at GLT congregation, and he was here last week. And today I am honored and excited for you to meet Sreeram Palla Reddy, who is here. He is the president of the temple in Swanee, and I want him to introduce his guest, and then we're going to have a conversation. And so before we introduce more people, I wanted to tell you that about a year ago, Pastor Brian Tillman and several people from our church went to the temple, and even recently, Ron Magat also went, and David Brewer and visited again. And they got to participate. Now, Sreeram, I hope I say this properly. Palanquin Sheva service? I did. From my Indian, yeah. And share in a meal. And so we're very grateful, because I want you to know that in addition to this conversation, next week we will meet without one of our guests from another interfaith community to have additional conversation. And I cannot tell you today, as your senior pastor, how important it is that we understand our neighbors and that we love each other and that we respect each and every person in our midst. We have had tremendous growth. I've had wonderful emails and responses from people learning things they didn't know. I learn every time I meet and we have a conversation. I learn. And so I'm very grateful for this, and I'm grateful to the Adult Ed Committee for all of your leadership, for what you've done to provide this. And I need to say a very special word to Dr. David Brewer. Dave is a quiet, behind-the-scenes, but brilliant man. And if you don't know that about him, Dave, I want to say that to you today and say thank you. Also, his most fabulous wife, Reverend Dr. Judy Chun. If you didn't know this, Judy is the executive director of the General Board of Global Ministries of the entire United Methodist Church, and we are honored to have her and the children, Caleb and Esther, in our midst. So we are very grateful. Not everybody gets this blessed as a pastor, but it's tremendous. And I know that that our racial advocacy group, which is going to be called our Committee on Religion and Race, has wanted something like this. This was a dream that I had for Sunday morning. And Dave, I just said, Dave, let's talk. We talked about an hour and a half. And I threw a million ideas at Dave. And Dave very quietly said, yes, Pastor Sondra. And then he came back with this fabulous curriculum. And so Dave and the Adult Ed, thank you. Could we thank them for all of their leadership? Dave won't brag about that, but he just earned his PhD in philosophical theology. Say that 4 times real fast. So he's pretty amazing. And so today, as we will begin our conversation, I'd like Sreeram to introduce our other friends with us. Would you do that?
Before introducing my friends, really honored to be here. Thanks to Pastor Sondra Jones and Dr. David Brewer and all the congregation members for inviting us to share our thoughts about our temple. And I would like to introduce our committee members. Raghu Potinedu, he is the Vice President. Raghu Kota is the Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you. But first of all, Sreeram, we would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
My name is Sreeram Reddy. Actually, I came to this country back in 1991. I studied in New Orleans Tulane University. I moved to Atlanta in 96. And from 96 onwards, I've been in Atlanta. And I have 2 sons. My wife, she also works for Macy's, an IT specialist. I have 2 sons. The eldest one is going to Medical College of Georgia, starting from August. And the younger one is going to senior high school, Brooklyn High School in Gwinnett County.
Thank you, and we're excited to have you here and to learn more about you. I would love for you to tell us what you envision in your work as president. I know it's 2 years that you serve in that role, is that right? And also, if you would tell us more about the temple.
So, as a temple president, actually, we have a board of directors. Board of directors elects committee 6 executive members. The president, vice president, secretary, associate secretary, treasurer, and associate treasurer. It's a 2-year term. Every 2 years, the new team members will be selected. And as a president, my role would be, and as a whole team of my 6 members, our role will be to poor devotees, they come to our temple, honor them, treat them well, and fulfill their needs when they come to the temple. That's first and foremost. Second thing is use the funds for the services that we do basically outside of our temple, the community services. We do the serve food meals to the needy people, as well as we work with Habitat for Humanity and also Rainbow Village and all the other services for all the needy people. That's what our mission is, and continue supporting the other communities.
Tell us about how often you feed people and how many people you're feeding at the temple.
At the temple, every Thursday we have 2 sessions. Basically, in the afternoon, we have around 400 to 500 people come in. They will have lunch, have darshan, getting the blessings of Baba, as well as prasad, like also lunch. And evening, anywhere from the peak summer time, we have 1,800 to 2,200 people will come, and we serve for meal in the evening times. Starting from 6:30 to all the way 9:30. So all are welcome. There is no restrictions or anything. Everyone is welcome to come to the temple, take the blessings of the God, and have a meal, share the meal with us.
That's a lot of people to be feeding, and who does all of that?
So basically, majority of the work is done by the volunteers. We have good dedicated volunteers at our temple. As a temple, we have only 4 or 5 full-time employees, 3 priests, and 1 full-time cook. A manager is a part-time, as well as we have 2 cleaning crew. But the majority of work is done by the volunteers. We are all volunteers, and we have full-time jobs in the daytime. But as a passionate, we are very fortunate to be associated with temple and giving this opportunity for us to serve the community.
That's right, and I wanted to comment about you being volunteers and what a gift that is to your congregation there as well. You also are a business analyst consultant with MARTA. How is your work going? How do you enjoy your work, and how did you get into that?
I would say I enjoy my work. Basically, as a business analyst, I've been in one of the capital projects for the markets there for the last 10 years. We are trying to improve the signaling system. At the same time, most of my work, besides the professional work, I enjoy being at the temple, working for the temple and taking care of the temple issues.
So when you're not dealing with MARTA stress, you get to go be at peace, right?
Yeah,
That's great. That's wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit, Sreeram, about when you were growing up and about how your faith affected you in your childhood, and how you're continuing to practice that, what that means to you now?
Yeah. When I was growing up, actually, I came from a very small village in the southern India. It's predominantly Hindu community. So when you were growing up, there are a lot of street plays and puppetry shows about different aspects of religious as well as the moral principles that taught us, that impressed me a lot going up to the adulthood. And after coming back to this country, continued the practices that I learned and observed in my early childhood age, and being adult and work in the society.
What were some of the challenges for you when you came to the United States?
So back in 1991, it's a New Orleans, very small place. The first thing was food. So I mean, a vegetarian, it was challenging for early stages. Then we have friends. We used to, as a bachelor, I came here as a bachelor, as a student. It was nice.
It was nice when you were a bachelor. There's some people that some of us remember that and sing precious memories. And how did you meet your wife?
Actually, it's an arranged marriage. I went back 94 back to India. My parents introduced a girl to me, and we spoke about an hour or so. I liked her, and that's how this arranged marriage happened. After 6 months, we got married. She is here. Fortunately, we married for the last 22 years.
Congratulations. And 2 boys. I'm proud of them. I know you're proud of them. When you serve as the president, tell us not all of the responsibilities, but what your responsibilities are, and then share with us a little bit about the priest and what the priests do.
So as a president and the committee members, our responsibility is to manage the temple day-to-day activities and also oversee how could we manage and fulfill our Baba's preachings and his philosophy of community service. And the role of a priest is mainly we have three priests. Their role is do the rituals. They studied in a Vedic schools, they have different study patterns. And whenever a devotee comes to our temple, we perform different rituals and with the Hindu hymns, and they perform those rituals and give the spiritual guidance to the devotees that we serve.
So the priests perform the rituals and do the spiritual guidance. Can you tell us, like, an order of worship, what that would be like?
So basically in the morning, actually we believe in Sai Baba. He's one of our saints. He came to existence in the middle of 1800s. Basically, he came to a small village in 1854, around 1854 time, as a very child, and around 16 years old time. Some people say 16 years old, no one knows what his age was. Basically, we have an idol in our temple. Our morning ritual starts from 5, the temple opens at 5:45. We have a morning wake-up prayer to the Baba, then followed by the Abhishekam, we call it a bath to the Baba, and do the offer him the prasad, and the devotees come and every 30 minutes do the archana for him, basically on behalf of the parents. The priest does the actual reading the names of the Lord for 108 times. Then in the afternoon, for the Babas, we have offered him as a prasad, as a food. Basically, what we say is giving something to Baba is internally giving for feeding yourself. And in the evening time, we have 6 o'clock, we have another prayer to the God, and 8:30 is the last prayer, that's the bedtime prayer.
Okay, very good. And can you say something about the messages that people receive during the worship? This is a loaded question as we talk about this.
Yeah. So basically,
what message does the priest bring?
We don't preach or provide any messages per se at the temple. And a devotee comes to the temple, they themselves pray to the Lord, and they have any spiritual guidance for them they consult with the priest. But as a management or a priest, we don't provide any discourses or spiritual lectures in this act. But we do offer, basically, whenever a Swamiji coming from India, we invite them to a temple. They give us discourses, spiritual discourses at the temple.
That's excellent, so they provide that. When we were talking the other night, Sreeram said, there's no sermon. I said, I'd be out of a job. But it's meditation, and it's offering, and it's community.
That's right.
And the community worship experience. When we were talking about Sai Baba, can you talk more about him? I think part of this would be, Sreeram, if you could share with us some of the basics of the Hindu faith, in case folks have not been aware of that. What are some of the basics of the faith?
So this Hindu dharma, what we call the Hindu dharma, is first and foremost we call the Trinity, divinity of Trinity God. So 3 forms. Lord Brahma, he is the one who is the creator, and Lord Vishnu is the preserver, and Lord Shiva is the destroyer and recreator. Those are the 3 main forms. From those 3 main forms, we as a Hindu, whenever there is a need, what we believe in is, whenever there is evil forces abundant in the world, Lord Vishnu comes in a different form to save the world and uplift the community. So when it comes to Baba Sai Baba, so he is a saint, and basically when he visited to that village around 1854, no one knows where he came from. He was very vibrant and very saintly person. He came and sat under the neem tree. He was doing meditation. It was nothing no. When the people come around, they give him a food. He used to take the food. Otherwise, just sat under the tree, do the meditation. And during the daytime, we used to wander around the forest. And after some time, all of a sudden he disappeared from that village. No one knows where he went to. And back in 1854, he came back as a part of wedding procession to the village. One devotee who recognized him in the first place, he saw him and said, "Oh Sai, welcome." So Sai means a savior. Because of his radiant nature and his saintlyhood, he called him a Sai, a savior. Welcome back. So that's how the name of Sai came to existence. Baba means as a fatherly figure who can guide us, provide us the shelter. That's why we call Sai Baba. So after he came back in 1958, villagers invited him to the village. Basically, he occupied or he stayed in a dilapidated Muslim house. So there he stayed there, and he started. Basically, his teachings are against all the orthodox religious concepts. Basically, he would like to unite all the communities, Hindu, Muslim, and Christian people. At that time, mainly 1800s, we have a lot of Mughals from the Muslim culture coming back to India, as well as colonial Britishers were there, the Christianity spreading in India. And Baba is the one who came, he said, you pray whatever God you want to, but as long as you believe in one God, whomever it may be, and do your daily duties, do your karma, the rest will be taken care of. That's how he started, and a lot of people witnessed miracles in their life after talking to him, and that's how he became more and more saintly person that way.
And so Sai Baba did not consider himself God, and I think sometimes people don't understand that. So he also had a great compassion for the poor and for the people, and that's part of his work in the village and part of his saintliness. Is that right?
That's correct. Basically what he does is he used to go in the daytime, go to different houses, begging for food or whatever they think they give to him. He'll bring everything together and distribute the people around him. He never keeps a penny for him, and whatever that he got from that begging, he gave it all to the people around him, for the needy people. And his main teachings, I would say, is if a person is in need of hunger or a shelter or a thirsty, take care of it. And he used to see himself in all the forms of in an animal form. Just one example, one devotee said, he said to the devotee, "I'm going to come to your home for lunch." She prepared everything well, and she's waiting for Baba to come to have a lunch. Exactly noon time, one dog came in front of the house. She did not realize. Then she hit the dog and let it go. In the evening, she went back to Baba and said, "Yeah, you told me that you were going to come for lunch, but he never showed up." He opened his shirt. He showed the marks on his back. "I came to your house, but you did not realize it. You did not give me food." Then she realized that what mistake that she made. I mean to say is, if it doesn't matter a human being or an animal, if anybody is hungry, you feed them and take care of their needs. That's the main preaching, sir.
If anyone is hungry, and we share that, don't we, as human beings who believe that we have a task, and Jesus talked a lot about that, about alleviating suffering and making sure that people were fed and taken care of, and we share that in our faith experiences, which is a beautiful thing. Can you tell us more about in your daily life, besides I know you're working at MARTA, and I know that you're busy with that, how are you taking care of your spiritual life? How do you do that, Sreeram?
So basically for being associated to the temple, it itself elevates me, basically looking at the devotees who come here, as they pray, they feel the presence of the Baba, and myself feeling the presence of Baba, it elevates me tremendously. it gives me so much of satisfaction being at the temple. My wife used always to complain, say, you spend more time at the temple than at home. I enjoy being at the temple. That's a bit much.
It's very meaningful. In what ways have people that you've encountered, any challenges that you've had or that your community has had being in Swanee, and how well are you received if someone has a different faith from what could be considered a predominantly Christian area?
So back in 2002, few of our devotees they thought to build a temple, where they bought a land with a small trailer in the temple. The community was very welcome for us. I mean, they welcomed with open arms, don't have any issues, and we started back in 2002 in a small place with few devotees. As the community grew and the devotees, a lot more devotees started coming in, 2009 we built a big building in a temple, as a permanent place, and we moved into that temple. And from the county's perspective, Forsyth County Commissioner, Sheriff's Department, all of them are very supportive for us, for our temple. We don't have had any issues with them. And even for the community, around the communities, we invite them. We conduct health fairs twice a year. We go and talk to the neighbors, invite them to come and participate in the health fairs and any of those things. We are very fortunate to have that, and good neighbors to be.
You are fortunate to have that. Not everyone who has a different religious experience in a community has that sense of hospitality and welcome, so I'm glad for you to have that as well. And could you tell us more about the dynamic because of the Hindu, Muslim, and Christian community working together and your sense of welcome? One of the things that I've learned, a very tiny amount of information, but that Hinduism being one of the oldest religions, if not the oldest, that all are welcome.
Yes.
And so in many branches of the tree, the Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Jainism, all those coming out of the tree. So how is that spirit of inclusivity grounded within Hinduism?
So Hinduism, when it came as existence, it's not a religion as per se. Basically, Hinduism is a way of life. Back in during the colonial time and Britishers' time, the Indus Valley, the people around that Indus Valley, and particularly Sindh province, that's where which is called Hindu province. That's where Hinduism started from. They coined the term Hinduism. And Hinduism is assimilation of different cultures, different practices across the country. There's no single practice you can pinpoint, say this is what Hindus do. So it's a pretty universally accepted. From the acceptance perspective, all our preachings, what it says is respect your neighbors, do your karma and duty, and reach for your highest goal, that is reaching the salvation. At the end of when you leave your body, try to reach high form. Moksha, that's right.
Okay, well that's helpful to us. And also, because of the big umbrella, as I picture it, the big tent, when you invite others into the temple for the meals and all that, I'm so thankful to hear that everyone is welcome. And so, can you say more about the spirit among the people when they come with those differences religiously?
So, any person who comes to our temple, so we invite them open-hearted, and as Dave and Ron was there, there's no differentiation per se for us. If a person comes to our temple, he's part of the community, he's part of our devotee, and they come for it. Whatever maybe the reason they're coming into the temple, they have their reason to be at that place. We invite them and take care of the person in the temple.
That's beautiful. Some of the questions that we were looking at in our conversation in additional ways about helping each other. I know that you're involved with Habitat for Humanity. You have the feeding ministry. What are some other things that you see in the area in our community, and what are some possibilities, Sreeram, that we could work on together?
So We have one other priest, Lord is nearby Episcopal Church near James Burgess Road. He pointed out, we work with that church very closely, and he pointed out us to see the Rainbow Villages and the place that he could help them.
Rainbow Village.
Yes. And myself and Madhu and some other committee members went there this day, and it's a nice place. They are doing a wonderful job, and we partnered with them. We supported whatever we in our way. So the way that I would see is as a community, what we feel is interaction between the other communities and one other churches. Be part of service that what Baba taught us, to be helping others when they are in need, in any form or any shape. That we'd love to continue doing this.
That's an inspiration for all of us to help others that are in need. And then when we have the common things, so we know that people are hungry and that there are problems with drugs and trafficking and those kinds of things in the community. When people come to you, do you have a way to refer them to agencies, or do you have resources like that you help people if they come in need that way?
So as I mentioned, we do conduct health fairs, and we have a huge number of Indian doctors that part of our temple. If any person comes for any medical need, we know our members, our congregation members, we refer to them. They do take care of their medical patients within the limits. Again, we have a lot of parents visiting New Year's. They come to us during the summer time. They don't have insurances, but the congregation members of our temple, the doctors, they do advise them using prescriptions, and we will take care of them.
How often are the health fairs?
Twice.
Is there any charge?
No. Basically, we have $25 that do the blood profile, complete blood profile, and 1 week we do the blood test, and we get the results by Thursday. And the next weekend we will have all the professional doctors from different specialists, from 10 to 12 specialization doctors will be there. The person picks up their report and do see the different consultation, what they want to see. It's
a tremendous ministry.
Thank you.
That is tremendous. Yes. And I wanted to see if we have any questions from the congregation. And then while they're asking questions, if you think of anything else, Sreeram, you can ask us some questions.
As we've done the last couple of weeks, I'll be passing the microphone around, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. We still have about 20 minutes or so, I think, before the choir has to leave, so there's plenty of time. So if you have a question, please go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll bring the microphone to you.
I just wanted to ask about the historical nature of the strife between India and Pakistan. How much of that was religiously oriented?
So during the participation, the partition of the country in the Britishers 1947, the country was divided basically in two parts. One is predominantly Muslim region, that's Pakistan, and predominantly Hindu region is India. In India, we have a majority, even though it's majority Hindus, but we do have Christians and Muslims population. Actually, from those communities, we have the highest position, the president and the prime ministers as well. The conflict between the two countries is there from Britishers' time. It is one of those political natures, but from the people's perspective, they respect each other. But it's a politics. It plays a big role in this conflict.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's been very informative. I have a question. What part, if any, does the belief in reincarnation play in Hinduism?
So, all of Hindus believe in reincarnation or rebirth. But rebirth, basically what we say is whatever deeds that you do in this present, as a human life is the highest form of evolution. And as a human, God gave us ability to think. None other forms have that capacity. So during this form, we utilize our thinking capacities to do good deeds. when you come back to the next form, whatever deeds that you do, that gives you the evolution for the next form, coming back to the life. As far as the incarnations of God is concerned, as mentioned before, Lord Vishnu is the one who is in a godly form, coming in different forms to this world. We believe he already came into 9 forms. The last form that we think is still to come. We don't know when he's going to be there, but we say all the Hindus believe that the last form is Kalki. This part of the time frame is going to come and uplift the community. And in addition to the Lord Vishnu or coming as incarnation, there are different saints came in during the entire parts. They will come in to fulfill certain part of their higher level, have a higher form. We believe Baba is one of the highest form who came in to unite the community. At that time, the need for uniting the community and preaching believe in God. And his method of teaching was towards the bhakti, we call it the devotion. Be a devoted, that's a Shraddha, be devoted with the love and affection, and have patience that take you to the far away, far ahead of you. And different other saints and the gurus came in. Their form of teachings are different. Like Chinmaya mission is Chinmaya Swami, is another well-known Swami. He can actually say his 100th anniversary, birthday last year. His form of teaching was Jnana Yoga. With the knowledge, you can reach the highest form. Not highest form around you. That teaches take you to the next level. So there means reincarnation is, we consider even the Hindus 10 forms, but so many saints and swamis came to the world, and we still believe that so many swamis live in day-to-day form in the Himalayas, within us. Each one of us have different capacity. Each one of us have different level of our understanding. May I answer your question, sir? I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
God bless you, brother. You're doing a great work, and I think this will make this country so great we have freedom of religion. If you will, why exactly does Hindu teach about Jesus? What do they say about Jesus?
So in Hinduism, the Swamis, all the Swamis that who came, if you read the scriptures of Hindu scriptures of Bhagavad Gita and the Bible, there are so many parallels in the preachings. So there is one book, Holy Sites, by Swami Yukteswar. He basically took each line by line from the Bible and Hindu from Bhagavad Gita. There is so much commonality about the preachings and the way of, even the Methodist have different way of saying things, almost the same, exactly the same. But the Hinduism, as a yogis, they're earlier than Jesus came into existence.
Thank you.
I'm Sreeram. Appreciate you being here. And I can certainly attest to the fact, having been to the temple twice, both with my small group and with David a couple of Thursdays ago, it was just a feeling of welcomeness that I felt being there. So thank you for being here. I have a two-part question. The first part involves the myths of what you might have experienced in interacting with people of other faiths or people outside of Hinduism. There's some common myths to clarify. For example, you had mentioned the incarnations of God with Vishnu and Brahman and Shiva, and how one might interpret that as Hinduism being a polytheistic religion when it's one God. So that's the first part. What myths would you clarify about Hinduism? And the second part has to do with sort of the things that you know of the Christian faith, and what you as a Hindu, what you would find helpful or beautiful about the Christian faith. I know for me as a Christian, one thing that I appreciate about Hinduism is the belief that God is in everything. From seeing God in another person to a blade of grass, and I think that as Christians makes us as better stewards and promotes a sense of humility. So those are the questions.
So from the Hinduism, from the reincarnation gods, as I said, even though we believe in those main three forms and coming in different forms and helping us, the commonality was in the Christianity, Jesus came to existence. He gave his life and for the others to live uplift the, as per my understanding, is concept to uplift the humanity and serve the humanities. In Hinduism is assimilation of all the religions, all the ways of life that we can say. But I don't see a difference between the preachings of Hinduism versus the Christianity background, from my perspective. Any answer question?
Yeah. Well, so the myths that you it's like some things that people feel about Hinduism that are not true that you run across.
The people might think that Hindus are isolated and something, but we are very open-hearted, open. Even in India, we have all the secular country, all the religions, pretty practicing all religions, and I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an open religion and it's open to everyone. So, would you like to answer it?
Of course, history knows India is the biggest secular country in the world. So, even though there are Hindu majority, Muslims, second largest Muslim population in the world lives in India. And the Christianity, and of course there are several forms of Hinduism, Buddhist, Jain, Sikhism, and so quite number. So India fully adheres to secular governance as far as the government and laws are concerned. There is no official religion. All religions are same. So it's one of the biggest democracy in the world that operates religious agnostic. There is no preference to a religion. There is no priority for a religion, and most of the governance happens just like here, church and state are different. In India too, that's the same philosophy or practice is followed. Governing body doesn't have any religious influence. It is purely elected by the people through the fair elections of the country, and the rules and regulations are imposed by the governing body, which is independent of religion.
So in addition to what Madhura said, is like any other religion, we do have some extreme views of people. Some people have some extreme views about Hinduism. They have strict, and they have practicing strict way of doing things. But majority of them are not the extreme way. I mean, if that's any other religion, it's pretty common in all the religions that we see.
Question here.
I'm going to ask about food. Many times when you talk to Hindus, many are vegetarian, and so wondered about why and what religiously compels you toward it, and then what's different about cows when you do eat meat, you don't eat steak, right? And then maybe compare that to Jainism, why they're so strict beyond just regular vegetarian.
So Hinduism never said anything that you should be a vegetarian, I should strictly vegetarian. But as for the cow is all the Hindus and rishis that who came to the time. We believe cow is a sacred animal because it gives us the milk, it gives us the next for the agricultural farm and manure for the form of the plants. And everything is selfless, serving to the person that is being served from the cow. That's why we say he's a model to follow. and is a religious sacred animal from the Hindus' perspective. From the parallels between Hinduism and Jainism, Jain is a strict ahimsa philosophy. Ahimsa is a non-violence philosophy from the Jainism. Even if you see a Jainist, pure Jainist walking on the road, they will keep their mask on. They don't want even hurt a small insect. They see the human form or the Atma that we say. It is there in every form of the world. Animals, birds, everything. There's very ahimsa, non-violent practice in Jainism, as far as I know. I'm not a scholar and I'm going to say, but my understanding is this.
I have a question. We've already touched on the fact that Hinduism is sort of a canopy term to cover a family of different traditions and practices. I'm curious how common the veneration of Sai Baba is. I had not heard of Sai Baba until I met you and went to your temple. How common and widespread is the veneration of Sai Baba in Hinduism?
In Hinduism, basically, even now there are certain sects of people, they don't believe in Sai Baba because he stayed in a Muslim place. Some they call he's a Muslim, but even I think after his passage in 1988, people started seeing his philosophies, they are teaching more applicable to the current world and more attracted towards his teachings. If you go now in India, predominantly in southern part of India and also in Maharashtra's middle part, there are a lot of villages, a lot of towns, they have temples of Sai Baba. They started following his teachings. Mainly the two things that help the feeding the hunger and helping the other people. Those are two key principles that he took for all of it. In the northern part, I'm not sure how much is they believe in Sai Baba, but people down the southern part of Maharashtra, they believe in the Sai Baba.
Could you tell us about the caste system? I think people have questions about a caste system in India. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So in the early stages, the name of the Rishi, he basically identified a group of people who will be the best to do certain tasks of things. That's where when they started with the highest with the Kshatriya. Kshatriya is the kings and rulers, and then next came to the Brahmin community. Brahmins are the preachers, knowledgeable persons. Then followed by the Vaishya community, who is the business community, business members, and the last one is who's all doing the agriculture, Shruddha community, is all agriculture and things. Within the Shruddha community, they have again lower caste and upper caste based upon the economic state of each person. It is at that time there was a need to have that different form so that for any community to grow together, you need to have a ruler, you need to have, and you need to have a businessman, and you need to have a farmer to grow the plants, grow the food back. And it became, gradually it became so fundamental. I think people, if you are a Brahmin, you only do this type of things. But it is not that when they started, that's not the thought process. Because I know that was not the intent. But it gradually took root by saying, okay, if you are a Brahmin, you do the only you are Brahmin. You're saying group of, within that each community, they started saying, I am the supreme. I mean, it's just like any human nature, right? So they started writing rules and regulations within that Brahmin community. The Brahmins are the most knowledgeable community. They know most of the ritual, Vedas. They studied Vedas. They took advantage of knowledge and tried to segregate the people more and more. Even now, today, I'm sad to say that the casteism still exists in India.
It's a form of organization
Form of
for the
organization.
community.
Right, that's correct. Yeah, casteism still exists in India, but it's gradually dissipating it because of the education system and the globalization. It's previously, even when I was growing up, people don't marry within other communities, within one community versus other community, but now it's assimilation is there, gradually it's going away. Hopefully we see that in some time there are no more caste system. But when they started, that was a good intent to have to do a community.
This is a time when our choir folks will be leaving for choir practice, so that our guests, that you understand this is not, people are not leaving. Because we're so glad you're here. Yes. Do you have a question?
I didn't thank you earlier for coming here and putting yourself in front of so many potential questions. It's very wonderful of you. I had a follow-up question about reincarnation. Most Christians, that is traditionally, we don't believe in reincarnation. I've been studying other religions and a follower of the Zen Buddhist tradition in particular. I wanted to ask you if your beliefs incorporate perfecting the soul to the point that you don't have to come back at some point, at the level of being Swami or having passing that. Thank you.
So, as we believe there is a soul in each one of us, that soul is the witness of all the things that's happening. As a physical body, physical form is just an instrument to serve in this lifetime, which is going 100 years, 90 years, whatever it means. But the soul is like a computer chip. It records all the things that what you do, and it keeps track of what all your affections and attachments that you have. What we believe is this soul, when it leaves this body and comes back in a different form, a different body, a different shape, based upon your attachments towards the material things, based upon your deeds, that what you do, that still comes back to the existence in the next stage, next life. How you overcome those attachments? I mean, what all our rishis said was, detach yourself to the worldly things. Try to aspire for a higher form, and try to reach for salvation. That's the goal that everyone needs to have. That's what Hinduism is saying, like Swamiji said. How do we do that? And there's a different way of doing things. Some of the people that follow the Bhakti Yoga, that's a devotion. Some people follow the Karma Yoga, that is doing the activities. And some people follow the Jnana Yoga, being a knowledgeable and education, those things. Those are three paths that to reach the highest form.
We have questions.
Could you share with us some information about your most important celebrations in your community?
So for the Hindu, Baba temple being a predominantly Hindu devotees congregation members, we celebrate all the Hindu festivals. For the temple perspective, we celebrate Baba's Guru Purnima that happened last 2 weeks back. Basically, the Guru is the one who's guided us. He's the saint, he's the guide us. There's Guru Purnima. Rishi Vyasa is the first Rishi, first Guru. He wrote all the scriptures. His birthday happened to be on full moon day in the month of, sometime in the July month. So we offer our prayers to all the Gurus, because we consider Baba is one of the Gurus. We offer our prayers to all the Gurus on that day. That's one of the biggest event for our temple. And the next one is in September, October time. We call it Navaratri, 10 days of celebrating Mother Devi, 10 different forms. So some people say Mother Devi or Mother Kali. We have each form teaches certain aspects of our life. How to overcome. We have one form of Mother is in the divine wealth, and one form is basically, if there is something happens to the children, it's taking how to protect the things. So there are 10 forms of Mother Devi, we call them, Navaratri. At the end, the 10th day is the day of Baba leaving his physical body and going to sun. That's what those two major events of temples perspective. In Hinduism or in major Hindu festivals, again it depends upon what part of India that you are celebrating it. Predominantly Diwali is a festival of lights, is one of the main function, religious event that we celebrate all the India. And also in southern India, during the early part of January, we have Sankranti. That's a main celebrating southern part of India. Those are the few major events that happen.
I think we have time for maybe one more question. Is that right? Maybe two.
As a practicing Hindu in this country, thank you for being here. We've enjoyed
Thank you.
it.
Thank you
We've
very
learned.
much.
But also, you're living in America. Do you hope that your boys will have arranged marriages?
Not so. I don't think so. It's definitely not. I don't expect that to be. So even in India now, arranged marriages are becoming gradually it's disappearing, because during the early part of there was all the people are they're very focused. There's not much of travel, so they used to be within 100 miles radius. At that time, the parents used to talk to know someone. He has a girl and you can talk. That's why the arranged marriages came to existence. Now with this globalization, computerization, it's gradually going on, and everybody is working, so they know that partners. They have a say in whom they want to be with for next 20 years or 30 years or 100 years. So it's not. I don't have my expectations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last question.
What does Hinduism teach about the world? Do you believe the world is just going to go on indefinitely, sort of ebbing and flowing, or do you think there is some sort of transformation of this world to another age, sort of like the Christian and Muslim and Jewish? I'm not sure does that make sense?
Yeah, I think as a Hindu reincarnation of God coming back to existence, what he says, we have 10 forms of gods. We are still waiting for the 10th form to come in. When there is a lot of evil forces in the world that we are expecting, we are anticipating Lord Vishnu come back and balance it out, and the world will go on. We don't expect to be a doomsday type of scenario. At least I don't never read about in Hinduism doomsday scenario that we have. No.
Only science test.
Yeah.
That's just trying to give you a hug, Dad. She just wants a hug from her dad. We are so grateful to you, and thank you for being here as well. And I would like to say one of the beautiful things about the large world religions is, though we're distinctive, Sreeram, there are many things. What we want to recognize is that in each and every one of us, God has instilled in us the desire and the awareness. We talked about this for the holy otherness of God. For the holy, so in different cultures and in different settings, people are hardwired in our DNA to seek that which is not who we are, but that which is greater and higher and more holy than we are. And I think those are things that we have in common, and then we find different ways to express that faith. And so much of that is also our cultures and our teachings and where we are born and how we learn. And I think that's just critical for us to remember that and to have such a gratitude that people want to alleviate suffering, that people believe in some form of salvation, and that people want to impact and do things in a better way. And so that's placed in us by the Holy One. So I hope that's a fair assessment of our conversation today. So I'd like to close this with a prayer. And before I do that, would you please join me in extending our gratitude to our guests?
I'd like to say a few things.
Yes, please.
Very thankful opportunity to come here and talk to all of you. If you get a chance, our temple is on 700 James Burgess Road. Please come and visit. Our busiest days on Thursdays, but you come on any other days, it will be 3 days, you can have some peace and meditate with the stage. But if you come on Thursdays, please come and visit our temple from any time from 5:45 in the morning till 9:30. All are welcome. Come and visit us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ron. Yes.
I want to say special thanks to this church and the members, because I have a special attachment with this church. My children were Boy Scouts in this church for almost 7 years. Every Thursday I used to come, drop off the kids and spend some time here. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate whatever you are doing to the community, particularly for the Boy Scouts. There are a couple of very good troops running Boy Scouts activities here, and I am the beneficiary of that service, and my children are the beneficiaries of that service, and I really like to thank you all.
Thank you, Madhu. It's our joy. It's our joy to be in scouting ministry, and we're grateful that has been a wonderful experience.
Pastor Jones, could you say a prayer for me? I just realized who you were when you at Beaufort United Methodist.
Yes, I've seen you at several of my churches.
You can see I make the rounds.
Yes, you do, and I do too, yes.
Pray for me and my ministry.
I will.
34
Thank
years
you.
on the street. Even though I'm a Southern Baptist, can you pray for me?
And I belong to God, yes. Yes, let's pray. Loving and holy God, for this beautiful space, this sacred time of conversation, of understanding and compassion, of shared life experiences, families and friends and stories and places. You give us life, you breathe life into us, and while we're here, may we love as you love, may we serve as you serve, and may our light be a light everywhere as your children, in your holy name. Amen.